You're listening to the Haunting of Bly Manor Aftershow by Horror Movie Talk.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk Special, the Haunting of Bly Manor After Show. On a normal episode of Horror Movie Talk, we would normally discuss one horror movie in great detail, but instead, we will be discussing, well, really, we're going to be discussing the whole series.
Yeah, we're going to be wrapping up this whole shindig in this episode.
Yeah, so now we can let our true freak flags fly and let you know a little bit more about ourselves. We burp a lot.
They know.
They know. Your hosts today, as always, are Dr. Bryce Hanson, who holds a PhD in spookology, and Professor David Day. That's me, the foremost expert in scare no-nos. So without further ado, let's wrap up this season of The Haunting of Bly Manor. Man, I did not expect what this was at all.
Yeah, I mean, it
hits
coming
so
into
close to home.
Coming into it, I was worried that how is it going to recapture the magic of The Haunting of Hill House?
And the answer is it doesn't really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does and it don't. It do and it don't.
I mean, it's just a testament to the skill of Mike Flanagan and his writing and
just sucking Mike Flanagan dick this whole thing. We've just been like riding that thing. Right.
So,
really getting on it.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, he's...
Oh, yeah, Mike. Give it to me, baby.
So, I mean, it's just hard not to praise him because everything, he's so consistently good. Like, there's... I'm sure there's people that it's not their bag, but you would be kind of crazy to think that it's not at least high quality stuff and like high quality storytelling. But yeah, I think it succeeds in matching the level of The Haunting of Hill House. Like, I think it's good.
It's in a different way. It's hard to compare them.
Yeah.
They're not terribly comparable.
I don't know. I think they're comparable. You keep saying that they're not comparable and it's a completely different thing. And I tend to disagree. I think it's very similar in the feeling and tone. Like he said in his like little letter to everyone, like it's a different, goal, which The Haunting of Hill House is a lot more about, family relationships and family drama and like the effect of loss.
I guess what I'm trying to say is they come off as almost two totally different genres to me. The vibe I get from Hill House is much spookier. It's much more of a scary, very typical kind of horror genre. And this is much more tragedy and love. And less focus on the scares, more focus on the relationships.
Yeah, but I mean, the scares are there. I mean,
I'm not saying they're not.
Maybe not.
I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying it's a lot. It's toned down quite a bit.
Well, I mean, they might not be as frequent, but I don't think they're toned down. Like there's a lot of great moments in this series.
I'm not saying there isn't, but if you were to hold them up next to each other, one is very scary, and this is is not so much. It has moments, sure,
right.
but that's really what I'm trying to say is they strike me as different genres almost.
Yeah, I mean I guess that's how I received The Haunting of Hill House is probably a little different. That like the great part about it and the part that sticks with me is the tragedy and the emotion and the character study and like all that stuff is like those are the main features for me.
So for me, The Haunting of Hill House, those were icing on the cake, right?
Yeah.
It was great that it did those things, but man, it kept me on my toes in terms of being scared. And that was what I got out of the series most. I still remember like the crooked man coming into that room. Like I was like, when he was hiding under the bed, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it was just a very scary house to be in.
Right.
And so, that it was icing on the cake that it had all this great story along with it. Like that was.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably the difference is just how the part that was most impactful to you was or just like the prevalent is the scares. And definitely it's a lot, even the scares in this one that do happen, they're a lot more subtle. It's not really overt. There's a couple that are like literal jump scares and jumping out at you. Yeah. But most of them are like, it's more about the haunting and seeing stuff or hearing stuff that goes creak in the night. Yeah.
In this, I mean, a decent amount of the ghosts aren't even nefarious, really. I mean, they're nefarious in the way another person would be nefarious.
Yeah, they're just hanging around.
Yeah. They're like, hey, can you let me into your body, please? And it's like, yeah, that's quote unquote spooky, but it's not, I'm going to grab your feet and eat your, eat your fucking nuts off. And it's like, oh my God, he's going to eat my fucking nuts off. I love my nuts.
I don't remember that part of Hill House.
It happened in the basement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I think it's a worthy second season to The Haunting of Hill House. And it's really different, but same in a lot of ways. And I think people that enjoyed The Haunting of Hill House are really going to enjoy this series.
Which character did you empathize the most with in Bly Manor? Which storyline or set of characters were you just like really dialed into?
I mean, the only real sympathetic characters are Hannah, Owen, and Dani. Like they're like the ones where it's like really underlining the tragedy or the experience that they went through. A lot of the others are just kind of innocents. Like the children are just innocents. Like you can feel for them, but it's not. See,
for me, it was Flora the whole time.
Really?
I was just, I just see my daughters in her,
Yeah.
And I just, I mean, that's a huge worry for me.
Right.
Like
that they're going to get inhabited by ghosts.
No, that it's scary to even say this out loud. Like it's really, I don't like intoning this kind of stuff, but it's a real fear that I'll die and leave my daughters in a place of like real, like I want my daddy kind of thing. And because that happened to a friend of mine where, he was just mowing the yard one day and a freak accident happened and a branch fell on him and he fucking died. And he left two little girls and they were just little girls. And it crushed me to see them, mourning the loss of their dad, who was, 40. And it's so scary to me to think that I could just leave the house today and so that, and Flora was in that spot, she was in that spot where I'm really scared of that happening to somebody I love. And it's not a reasonable fear, right? Because number one, you'd have no control over that. Number two, it wouldn't even be happening to me. It'd be happening. It'd be worse than happening to me. It'd be happening to somebody who I hold most dear. And so let's just knock on wood real quick.
Yeah.
Because, and so that's how I empathized, I was just like waiting for Flora to come on screen and she handled it so well. Which little kids do, you know? I mean, they have no choice because they have no context, you know?
Yeah, for them, this is just reality. This is just normal.
Yeah. For my daughter, who's 4 now, just turned 4, you know, she just lost one of her 2 grandmas and she's just like, yeah, it's sad. And no real understanding behind saying that. It's just like, this is the thing that my parents tell me. And so it is.
Well, I mean, someday she might get another grandma. You never know.
I suppose that's true. No, it happened to my wife, you know, her grandfather, when she was, about my daughter's age, lost her grandma and she got a new grandma. And then I think she got another grandma after that. Jim.
Hey, grandmas are a dime a dozen. I wouldn't worry about Flora too much.
They're not. But, I mean, it's, and who I think I know the answer to this, but I'll ask it anyway. Who did you find the most reprehensible? Who is the most reprehensible character?
Oh, Peter. By a mile.
That's for you. That's definitely true.
I mean, Viola was like, Lady of the Lake. Yeah, you get the sense of they're not good people and they're rageful and, you know, but really her murdering people is not even really a person. It's a husk.
Yeah. It's now become just, there's a built-in excuse, which is she's no longer her. It's like it's just something else. It's just a rageful hate. Yeah.
Peter is straight up a sociopath that like is preying on people for his own benefit.
Right.
And even the parts where you see like what made him, what monsters in his past influenced him to be this broken person. Even then, like, yeah, you feel really sorry, but you feel sorry for like the child Peter, not current Peter. You know, you feel sorry for that someone has to go through that, but also fuck that guy.
It's interesting. It's interesting because like I should be on board with you because Peter reminds me a lot of my dad.
Yeah.
But you know, Henry also reminds me a lot of my dad because my dad was an alcoholic, and I think for a lot of the series I really disliked Henry because it was like, for so many reasons. It's like, okay, he cheats on his brother with his brother's wife.
He makes his brother a cuck.
He becomes this husk of a person that his brother tells him who he is. And he just loses himself in the bottle for years. He's got a daughter who needs a father figure, and he can't even fucking nut up to like head over there and be like, like a meaningful person in these kids' lives. And he's so that ghost of himself that he sees, that like smiling, smirking piece of shit.
Right.
And there's something about letting yourself go to substances that, it's pitiful and it's sad and it's a sickness for sure, but also there's an element of the same thing with Peter. You're doing this at this point. You're responsible enough to
know better.
Yeah.
There's definitely a case for Henry being a huge piece of shit. And I think it's just, they make him more sympathetic to where there's he's being haunted and by his guilt and by his loss. What a weird place to be in, to like, I had an affair with my brother's wife and they both died, so I'm mourning the loss of
my lover and
my
brother,
someone that I love. I love both of them as family, but also as someone I can fuck. And that's, how I consider love, really. And so he's like tormented by guilt, and really why he's distancing himself is because his brother banished him. You know, he said, like, I don't want you part of my kids' lives at all. Like, you're out. So he's suffering, and in a certain way, he's like
banished.
He's doing something noble in separating himself completely from them, but also it's very convenient to not have to confront what you've done, and that's like the element of like the darker side of himself.
Yeah, okay, so to speak to that a little bit, you're right, like, but it only holds true if his brother is alive, right?
Oh, I don't know.
You're banished. You're banished from seeing my family, my wife, my kids ever again. Because the inference is they got me. Mm-hmm. But as soon as he dies, I think you have to reevaluate and go, oh, these kids need somebody, and I'm somebody.
I mean, he makes sure that they're taken care of.
He does, but not. I mean, obviously not mentally. Like they could sure they miss him. They miss Uncle Henry, and he's not there for them.
But I mean, in this world, ghosts can murder you. So if he knows that his brother doesn't want him to be a father to Flora, then he could get murdered by his brother.
Well, assuming he knew that ghosts were real, but I think I think we've jumped the shark at this point.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Henry is definitely a very interesting character, and you turn a corner on him eventually.
Yeah.
Peter, not so. He's barely remorseful. And he's like, just sorry, I'm a piece of shit. Yeah. Like, that's basically what you get from Peter.
Yeah, I mean, they're two sides of the same coin, kind of. It's just one of them turns a corner. Yeah.
I mean, I wish I really empathized and cared about Dani more.
I know.
She wasn't, like, super compelling to me, because most of it, she's just an observer.
What a beautiful actress. She's so pretty. And she did a really good job of being composed, of like being the strong one kind of throughout the series for the kids.
Yeah.
And then, making the ultimate sacrifice, like giving herself away so that the kids could have a life,
Yeah.
Everybody could have a life, really.
Yeah.
She obviously didn't know she was necessarily like freeing everyone from the anchor of Bly when she was doing it, but still it's what happened. Was there anything that wasn't tied up nicely for you? I have one issue, and it's not huge, but
anything that wasn't tied up.
Here, I'll share mine while you think. They early in the series, the first couple episodes, they made a few allusions to how the parents died. They were like, oh, and the way it happened.
Yeah.
And a couple times, and I was like, Jesus, what happened? What? Where? I want to, like, this sounds kind of scandalous. Like, maybe they were at a swingers convention gone wrong or something like that. Something really tawdry or weird. But they never got to it. And I was like,
no, they did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they died in India. They were on a trip in India, and there was a car accident.
Oh, well, shit, how'd I miss that?
I don't know.
Well, then never mind. I guess they...
Yeah, that was in the episode with Henry, the Henry-focused episode, because he gets the call.
That was even my episode.
It was your episode.
I don't even remember that.
So, yeah, what was your favorite relationship in the show?
Oh, I mean, that's... You see, it depends on where we're at in the series, right? So the first couple episodes... maybe up to 4 or 5, I really enjoyed the cute flirtations between Hannah and Owen. Like, but then, I mean, once the real relationship is obviously Dani and Jamie. They were just the way this, we said it in episode 10 or episode 9, our after show on episode 9, but I really enjoyed the way they handled the same-sex relationship between Jamie and Dani, because it was just like not a deal. It was not a big deal. And they loved each other so much, and it was sweet how they interacted. She put her she put the ring at the bottom of a plant, in the roots of a planter, and let Jamie find it. And she's like, look, I don't care if we can't legally get married because it's the late 80s, early 90s, and that's not a thing yet. All that matters to me is, you have a ring and you wear it and I have it and we're committed to each other. And it was a beautiful relationship from beginning to end. Kind of like, they are two kind of broken, hurt people. And that's how everybody is. Everybody's broken and hurt until you find the person who can kind of, it's weird. Like, and this show got me thinking about relationships and like how, quote unquote, romantic relationships, but really just relationships with significant others work, which is like, you're not really a full person. I mean, I wasn't. I shouldn't say you because it's generalizing and there's going to be somebody out there who's like, hey, fuck you, I'm a full person. But I'll tell you, I was not a full person and I didn't even know it.
Right.
Until I got Carrie. And she completes me. She fills out all the bad spots, all the spots that I'm deficient in, she fills out. And she doesn't have any deficiencies, so I don't do anything for her.
Yeah, I feel very similar. Like, I feel like I'm pretty introverted and independent, and I could probably live as a hermit my whole life. Like, I could do that. Yeah. And I think you could too. You could go out into the woods and be fine. But I'm just surprised at how much more fulfilling and rich my life is with my wife and my kids. Yeah. Like, it's just would not be comprehensible to me as a 20-year-old. Like, what? Right. Like, you get a wife and kids. Like, that's like cookie cutter, go down the path. Like,
it's so easy to
get a mortgage.
Pigeonhole, to fucking pigeonhole this portion of life that's actually very fulfilling.
Yeah. And, it's weird when you come across people that are like adamantly anti having children. Yeah. Just like, okay, I get it. Like, and I respect your decision, and, I don't want to say like, oh, well, you're going to want to have kids because, I don't know everyone, and everyone has their own choice. And but they also don't understand the richness that comes with having children. Like,
my brother, I mean, you knew me before I had kids, and when I was still a little bit that way, I wasn't as much as I was in my 20s. Yeah. But still, I was kind of like, I don't want kids. And that energy came from like a fear of knowing how I was as a kid. Right. Like, I was a horrific kid.
I remember the fear that you had with your first of just, I mean, there's a lot of fearful moments of having kids, but just kind of generally like, I don't know how this kid's going to be.
Yeah. And that was a real fear for me because I remember being such a shit. And just being like, I don't want to bring a shit into the world. But then, you said some things, and then my brother said something that really stuck with me, which was, he's like, how do people describe having kids, the experience of having kids? And I'm like, pretty universally, they're like, it's great. And he's like, What do you think about that? And I was like, well, I mean, they could easily be lying. Because they made a huge mistake, they're pot committed.
Right. It's cognitive dissonance.
And they're pot committed now, and they can't own their shitty mistake. And he's like, all of them, all these people who had kids universally think that it's really think that it's a shitty experience, and they're just lying to cover it up.
Right.
Like, oh. That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Having kids is also, also one of the worst experiences in your life in a lot of ways.
It's not the worst. It's just a hassle.
Right. I mean, in terms
mostly it's the biggest hassle you'll ever go through.
Well, in terms of like heartache and like terror and worry and bad things that can, enter your life. Like, yeah, I mean, your kid's bringing a whole new dimension of like misery.
Yeah, it's like chopping an arm off, giving it to someone and being like, take care of that fucking thing.
Right.
You take care of that because it's a piece of you that's out there in the world that you can't control.
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And you're like,
so it's like Ash.
I hope they,
when he cuts off his hand.
I hope
just go scurrying off.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just hope that the world treats that piece of you okay. And you know it's not gonna.
Yeah.
Because nobody gets out alive or without scratches, you know. But that's part of the beauty of life. And this show really did a great job of like
portraying that richness.
Yeah. Yes. More so, I think, than the Hill House.
Yeah. My favorite relationship was Owen's relationship with puns. He's truly committed.
Yeah.
Just absolutely committed to puns.
Yeah, he sure was.
Yeah. I mean, should we give it a score? Do you think we should give it like a 1 out of 10 thing?
I guess. I guess. Sure, it can't hurt.
Yeah.
What are you putting it at?
I mean, 10 out of 10. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah. I don't either. In terms of,
I mean, it made me cry.
Oh yeah, no.
It made me
it's
like
obviously
anxious.
it's obviously a 10 out of 10. I think that's I think anyway. But I'm trying to think of how shows, you know, how movies go down in history is, you know, they make a tremendous impact, you know, and shows it's not different, but it's not as forgiving as it is with movies, because movies are a package deal, you know, and you can, you know, there are big movies, but there's not a lot of huge, you know, there's like Seinfeld, there's like Breaking Bad, there's The Simpsons.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of weird because I think TV is a little more forgiving because you have more material and like you can have more lulls that can be overlooked, you know? Movies are more of a monument.
Yeah.
And like they stand alone and it's like one thing. And TV series, like it's a whole through line and you have to look at the whole as well as like each individual part.
And then you can get shows that kind of like start great and then kind of fuck themselves like a little bit.
Yeah.
Which this is so short that it can't really do that.
Right.
I mean, it could, but it didn't.
Right.
You know, like Dexter is the first one that comes to mind,
right.
which is like,
yeah.
Wow, what a show! What a show! And then it just kind of like just drops off a cliff, and you're like
jump 15 sharks.
Yeah. And then you're like, all right, well, this is dumb. It's better. It's better to quit while you're ahead.
That is the most damning thing that I can think of for a TV series is if I was super into it and then I just stopped and don't care about watching the last seasons. Yeah, like that's pretty damning. And I mean, I did that with X-Files. X-Files was my absolute favorite show, and I don't think I saw every episode in the last season after Duchovny left, because why bother? But, I mean, now that I've revisited it, like, the majority of those episodes are great.
That is a long series to revisit.
Yeah.
How long did that take you?
A while. Yeah.
See, because I'm working my way through Next Generation episode by episode.
Right.
I'm probably getting close to a year now, you know, because we'll watch 4 to 5 episodes a week.
Yeah, the seasons have a ton of episodes.
I know. This is one of my problems with shows now, which is 10 episodes quantifies an entire season almost, always. Even for like small shows, like 20-minute shows.
Yeah, it was like, it used to be like 24 to 30 episodes a season.
Yeah, of 45 to 50-minute long episodes.
Right.
Yeah, like huge. X-Files, Star Trek, like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is an interesting format, and I hope they keep it up. I kind of doubt they will. I think this is probably the end of the Haunting series.
I mean, it'll be hard because
I say that because of the thing you read. Because of the thing you read from Flanagan, which is like, I adapted Hill House, now I'm adapting The Turn of the Screw. And these were the two, and the way he set it up was these are the two big,
right?
These are the only pieces of horror in the last century to like. Not that there aren't great horror pieces before this.
Yeah, I mean,
fucking Dracula,
definitely gothic horror. I mean, I think he could go on as long as he wants to, and I think they'd be high quality. There's plenty of material to adapt in terms of like haunted house stories or.
Do you think he'll adapt, or do you think he'll come up with something new?
Oh, he'll adapt.
Okay.
I mean, that's like the series. That's what it is. But it might not be like...
what would you like to see?
I feel like you could make a series out of like Edgar Allan Poe material. You could make a series out of like...
I'd love to see a Frankenstein thing.
Frankenstein or...
Frankenstein.
I mean, he's done Stephen King stuff before. He could do a Stephen King thing.
Oh, Dark Castle? Oh, man. I don't know if you could adapt Dark Castle. That might be...
Isn't it Dark Tower?
Dark Tower, yeah. That might be a tall order.
What are you talking about? They put out a great movie.
Yeah, but...
For the Dark Tower.
A great movie, was it? Or was it just about every single Stephen King adaptation minus The Shining?
Well, there's good Stephen King
I like how the one Stephen King adaptation that's actually fucking spectacular. Stephen King's like, fuck that. Kubrick? I don't think so.
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
I get
Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You got
Green Mile.
Gerald's Game.
Green Mile.
Yeah.
Oh, Gerald's Game is an adaptation?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. Of a Stephen King novel? Okay. Was it of the same name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dolores Claiborne. Misery.
Misery, yeah. Oh, Dreamcatcher. Tommy Knockers. Have you seen Tommy Knockers?
It's been a while.
Langoliers.
Langoliers, yeah. The Stand.
It. The new one, not the old one.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's stuff that you could adapt. I mean, that's kind of the thing that's most interesting is like, what could he do next? And like, what could he be passionate about? I think that's the thing that sets it apart is like, he sounds like he's got to be passionate about it and have like enough knowledge about it.
He's clearly a King fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, I don't think there's any like Stephen King through story that's like, I mean, there's a lot of interconnections and stuff, but I don't think like you could do a adaptation where it's like kind of a family or a group of people in one spot. That I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Flanagan does next. I think if there's anything that would keep this from having another season, it'd be Netflix. Netflix sometimes kind of just drop shows that it deems it has enough of. It's like it doesn't care if people love it or there's, well, I don't know. I think it cares about if people love it, but like if it's not like a roaring success, if there's just like a really loyal following, that would be like, all right, they've got enough.
It's not a bad move. It's the BBC model, which is like, don't let it get stale.
Yeah.
Which is fine by me.
Except for Doctor Who, I'm sure.
Yeah, good point. Well, no, I mean they switch it up enough to but
sure.
Yeah. Well, in any case, I did enjoy the Haunting of Bly Manor quite a bit, and thank you guys for joining us for it. You guys should definitely, if you enjoyed this series, we did it for free. You got it. Without strings attached or anything like that. And man, it has been a lot of extra time and effort on our part. I was just about to ask you, do you feel like kind of burnt out from this yet? And theoretically, we haven't even recorded any interviews yet.
Yeah.
God willing.
I haven't even started editing yet. Any of my episodes.
They're pretty easy to edit, But if you guys want to support us, all that to say, if you want to support us by heading over to our Patreon and becoming a patron, we got a bunch of extra bonus content over there. We got a bunch of free episodes, more than 2 years worth of weekly episodes of Horror Movie Talk, where we review a movie every week, and a lot of fun there, a lot of memes. We have a bunch of great fucking listeners and a really strong community on Facebook. We're small, but man, it's just been growing so quickly. I've been so thankful for everybody who comes out and listens to Horror Movie Talk. So you should definitely subscribe and leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Share it with a friend.
all that good stuff.
Subscribe to our channel on YouTube because that's a great fail-safe for the rare occasion when an episode doesn't post properly. It'll always be there on YouTube for you to check it out. So, can you think of anything to add to all this? As always, thank you to Dustin.
Yeah.
Goebel. DGoebel00. That's DGOEBEL00 on Instagram, and Maxwell.R.Allen on Instagram. Maxwell did the intro music, and Kitty did that's her beautiful voice at the start of this thing, and Dustin, of course, does artwork for our weekly episodes.
Yeah, so it's nice. I mean, this was our attempt at making like a little special series. We'll see how it does. I'm kind of excited about it. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the equivalent to the work of twice as many episodes a month, It is. And maybe slightly more. We'll see. Like, I think 2 episodes are equivalent to 1 episode.
Seems
and
like
there's
it.
9 or 10.
Well, but we haven't even recorded the interviews yet.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. All right. So with that, thank you so much for listening. Join us on our weekly episodes of Horror Movie Talk. Have a great Halloween, and we love you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Paganism, the religion that worships your dick.